Hey everybody, happy Tuesday and welcome to my kitchen. For those of you who have been joining me over the past few weeks, this is a different view of my kitchen. I had to rearrange things today because I wanted to do some things on my stove. Let's see if I can show you. Got some things going on there that I couldn't do from my island, which is where I usually am. Hey Camille, how are you? So good to see you today. Hope you guys are all staying well. I know that there's a lot going on in the world right now, and it's kind of nice to be able to just focus on some things like this, like being in the kitchen and cooking healthy. I actually just got off of a class that I gave on food and mood, talking about what foods can help keep us thinking positively and looking at the world and staying, resistant to stress. So luckily for you guys, this is one of the recipes that is a mood booster. Why? Because it's heavy. It has omega-3 fatty acids, which are very good for us, good for our brain health. It has a lot of antioxidants, which help fight inflammation, which can cause mood disturbances and keep us feeling depressed and down. It also has, magnesium in it. It is vitamin C. Which is an antioxidant, which also helps to convert and form serotonin. Serotonin is our feel-good hormone. So not only are we cooking healthy, having good food, but we're also keeping our mood up through these very, very difficult times. My thoughts go out to everybody who is out there, and wishing them health and stay well. And hopefully we'll come through the other end of this very soon. Hey Rita, so good to see you again. What fun. So today we are going to be cooking a roasted red pepper dip. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a household where roasted red peppers were on the menu all the time. I have wonderful memories of going to my grandma's house and coming in and seeing her at the stove like we are today and cooking peppers. And it's something that we don't tend to think about these days in cooking. You can roast peppers in the oven, but this is a traditional way of doing it. And I did get started with roasting a pepper right here on my stove. And I'm going to explain to you just how I go about doing that. So the way to roast a red pepper is to actually char the outer skin. We want to do it slow enough so that the inside starts to get cooked and sweeten up. But we also want to make sure that we're getting that good char on the outside. And we're going to be removing the skin afterwards, but that's part of the process that we go through. So I'm just going to dip this down here and see if you can see. Hopefully you've got enough light on there to see. I actually have a big red pepper. I don't know where this one guys came from, but it is a big pepper, and it has been on my burner now for about 10-15 minutes. I have it on medium low. I want to show you, this is what we want to happen. If you could smell my kitchen, it reminds me of my grandma's house, which is kind of a burnt smell, but a sweet burnt smell. And I don't know if you can see, but as I put this down, the pepper's getting nice and soft. It's actually losing its firmness, which means that the meat, the flesh of the pepper, is actually cooking. The trick with this is every few minutes, come back. I have it on a low enough heat that I know it's not going to start on fire, but it's a low enough heat that it's actually cooking through, but it's still a direct flame. So it is actually charring the outside of that pepper. And that char gives it a flavor as it's cooking. So I'm gonna let this sit here for a little while because there's a trick to it once you're done. And I'm going to let that cook, but I'm going to get on to the recipe. And by the way, if you want the full recipe, you can go onto my webpage, which is eveyschweig.com, and just go under the recipe tabs and you'll find the recipes there. I better double check, make sure that this one's on, because if it's not on yet, I'll get it up as soon as I'm done here. So, hey, Camille, what do you guys? What if you have an electric cooktop? It doesn't work as well on an electric cooktop. What I would do is say you need something to elevate it off of the actual coils. So you might, if you have a wok ring, something like that, that might work. But, or you might try roasting it in the oven. If you roast in the oven, they don't get charred like this. What happens is they do cook through and they do get nice and sweet. What I would do is I would cut them up first. Well, you don't even need to. You don't need to take the seeds out first. What you can do is just put them in your oven, put something under it in case they drip. And I would say put it at like 400 degrees. You can actually put it in the pan at that point and just let them cook until they cook down and they're soft. Because at that point, you'll be able to remove the skins as well. So yeah, so electric is a little bit different. So let's get on with the recipe. Oh, by the way, too, this evening, I am doing my Take 20 with Mary Ellen Zung, a fellow health coach. If you are around and would like to listen, we're going to be talking about hidden toxins that are in our environment, in our foods, and in our homes, and what we can do for our health to avoid them. So that's at 7 p.m. Central, and it is on our Facebook page, which is Tips for a Healthy Lifestyle with Evey and Mary Ellen. All right, so hopefully you'll see me then. This has been a busy online day for me. So let's take a look at the recipe. First things first, what we want to do, what's nice about this recipe is everything is in the food processor. Once these peppers are made, there's no more cooking. Well, there's a little bit. I lied. What we want to do is we want to toast some walnuts. If you've never toasted nuts before, very simple. You don't need to add anything to them. Basically what I'm doing is I just turned on the burner under I have this cute little skillet that I use, but you could use any size skillet. I like to use a cast iron skillet. Here I have a half cup of walnuts. What I'm going to do is I have it on a high heat and a hot skillet. I'm just going to watch this. I'm going to watch it like a hawk, because what happens with nuts is, and especially with these, because they do have the oils in, they're going to start to sweat the oils, and you're going to be able to start smelling it. It's going to smell really fragrant, really good. I'm going to get to that point. When I get to that point, I am going to take this off the stove immediately, because these wonderful browning, toasting nuts can go from toasted to charred in a heartbeat. Don't ask me how I know that. Maybe I have experience with it. Yeah, I do. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bowl handy. That one's, yeah, perfect. Big enough. And let me just grab something to keep my hand from getting burned. And what I like to do is I like to just give it a little shake every now and then. All right, while that's going on, I'm smelling it, making sure it's not burning. I'm going to turn my pepper. Look at that. Oh my goodness, it is looking great. So what I have here is I have the entire outside now. I'm going to actually stand it up a little bit and get that end to cook. Hopefully you can see that now that it's black, it's hard to see against, isn't it? Give you something to look at against it. See, I have it on, it's standing on its end. We're gonna just let that sit there for a little bit. It's almost done. And then I'll show you what we do. All right, I'm gonna give my nuts a little toast. Now, you don't have to toast the nuts necessarily, but it does add a better flavor, all right? And the good news about this recipe is you don't have to roast your own peppers. In fact, what I have here is a jar of peppers that I have drained. that I'm actually going to use. We'll see. If I can get this pepper to cool down enough, we'll use that in the recipe too, because I got to tell you, when you make it at home, it just tastes better. Yes, and Rita reminded me, a gas grill works just the same way as this. So Camille, if you have a gas grill, perfect. You can do the same thing, just put it right on the grate. Keep it low so you keep an eye on it. All right, these are getting ready. I turned off the heat. I'm gonna let that out. I can see some of them are starting to brown, and I don't want them to burn. So I'm just gonna set these aside, let them cool a little bit. And I am actually going to, let's see how we're doing. I'm gonna turn my pepper around. Oh, look at that, the bottom's already nice and browned. I'm gonna do the top. Whoops, come back. What's happening now is the juices actually are falling out. So it might be starting to make a mess. Maybe I'm pushing my luck trying to get the top to brown. While we're doing that, I'm gonna start the recipe then. You know, I'm just gonna turn this off. I think we're good. Let me tell you then what we're going to do. So what we do with this now is we wanna cool it because we wanna get the skins to separate from the flesh. And a good way to do that is you can either pour it underneath cold water or plunge it into a bath of ice water. Let me go grab that bowl. I'll be right back. I got the bowl here. I'm just gonna put some ice cubes in it. I want to give it a good shock so that those skins separate. And the better you cook your pepper, the better this is going to separate the skin. And I'm going to let this sit here because I want it to cool, because otherwise I can't touch it with my hands. So I'm just going to put it to the side. And that's why I have the jarred peppers, so that we can go ahead with the recipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring you a little bit closer to my chopping station there. There we go. Does that work? Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put into my small container here. I have two sizes for this is a big food processor, so I have a smaller container. I'm going to add in my walnuts that I just toasted, and this is what I love to chop garlic this way. You just pound the heck out of it, and then I'm going to give it a good cut. Now, you don't have to be that particular about it because we're going to put it in the food processor and process it all. Let me get that end out. All right, this was a big clove, so I'm just putting one in because I'm afraid that it's going to make it too garlicky if I used 2 cloves. If you have smaller cloves, 2 would be fine. All right, so I'm just going to pulse these together. All right, I just want to show you what that looks like. It's kind of like a little crumble. Can you see that? Just wanted to get it started there. All right. And now what I can do is I can add my roasted red peppers. Now, this is from a jar. You can see it still has some of the blackened char on it. But trust me, not as good as when you do it yourself. Ooh, I can smell that garlic. It smells so good. Now it really smells like my grandma's house. Oh my goodness. All right. So I'm just going to give this a little pulse. All right, it's looking good. Now, I'm going to add some ground flaxseed. I buy whole flax seeds and then I put them into my Vitamix and grind them up and put them into the refrigerator. This way, I only have a very little bit of ground flaxseed at a time. The reason being, once you grind flax seeds, the omega-3 fatty acids in it tend to oxidize very quickly. So it's kind of nice to have just a little bit at a time. And I'm going to put in, I believe it is a 1/4 cup of ground flax seeds. So I just wanted to say, hey, Mary Ellen, how are you? So good to see you. And Richard Slaughter, so good to see you. Renee and Anne-Marie, what a pleasure. Oh my goodness. All right, how fun. So I'm going to put in a 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons. All right. The flaxseed helps thicken up the dip as well as adding in healthy fiber and those healthy omega-3s, like I was saying. All right, we're going to add that in, and we're going to add some balsamic vinegar. Now, you can add regular balsamic vinegar. I am going to add some white balsamic in. I like the white balsamic. It has a little bit of different flavor, but it also doesn't add a dark color to the red pepper. So it keeps the red pepper nice and bright. And I want to add in about a tablespoon of that. All right, that'll add a nice little zing to it too. And I'm going to add in some olive oil. 1 to 2 tablespoons, it depends. I'm going to see how the consistency is. I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon. All right. And then I'm going to do a little bit of cheating because this actually is a processed food. It is a Worcestershire sauce. This is the only one that I could find this time. Usually I try to get a organic, as clean as possible Worcestershire. This one, Lee & Perrins, very well known. It does have added sugar to it though, not much. So I make a little bit of a concession, but if you can, look for a Worcestershire sauce that's organic and if possible, does not have sugar. I found a brand or 2 that don't have added sugars. And I'm just gonna add a little bit. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon in. And that again, too, adds a little bit of spiciness and zing to it. And I'm just gonna push down the contents and then I'm gonna show it to you so you know what it looks like. And this is so much fun. I love having this with crackers or with other vegetable crudité. It's delicious. It's great if you're having company over, something, you know, just real quick and easy to whip up. You know, if you have a jar of roasted peppers in your pantry for that purpose, it's great for that. You know what, I'm just gonna, no, let's use a different jar. I was gonna use this bowl, but it's pretty similar to the color of the dip. That's no fun. Okay, let's use this one. All right. All right, and I'm gonna remove the blade. I'm gonna show this to you, the consistency. All right, so it still has a little bit of texture to it, but the end result is nice. It's smooth. I think you can see the consistency of it. It's nice and thick. What's going to happen too is because of that flax that's in there, it's going to thicken up. Flax tends to thicken up a little bit each time. So with time. So expect that, you know, when you're making it, if it seems too runny, just wait a little bit and see whether it thickens up for you. Hey, Hildy, how are you? It's so good to see you. Hey, Nancy, good to see you too. Rita asks, how long do whole flax seeds last in the closet? Do they start to turn to? I would put them in the refrigerator. I store all of my flax seed in the refrigerator or freezer. If I'm not using it, I put it in the freezer because that very reason that it can oxidize and go bad. So definitely put it in the refrigerator if you're going to be using it. And what I do is I keep some in the freezer and then periodically take some out to put in the refrigerator, the way I said. And then I'll grind it up when I'm ready to use it. So yeah, here we are. Okay, hold on one second. Let me go grab some crackers. I should have done this before I turned on the, hopefully I got some crackers in this box. No, it's empty. This is the crackers that I like to use. I don't typically buy crackers. I usually make them. And by the way, next week we're going to be making buckwheat crackers, which are very easy to make in your oven. So I hope you stop by for that one as well. Let me go grab another box because I always have another box on hand. And as I said, this is the one brand of cracker that I will buy because and I'll show you, it has a lot of whole seeds in it. When you're, here we go. Can you see? You really can see all the seeds in that. And there's not much else in it other than the seeds themselves. So this is great for dipping. Look at this. Should I taste it? What do you think? Love it. Love it. I'm glad I didn't add more garlic because that was just the right amount of garlic to it as well. What I didn't add was I didn't add any salt and pepper because I had the processed peppers and I was afraid to add that. But I might go ahead and add definitely some ground black pepper for sure, and maybe just a pinch of salt to it, just to enhance the flavors that are there. Let's get back to that pepper. Take a look at it. Where did I leave it? Oh, right here. So remember I said we plunged it into the ice water because what we want to do is we want to remove that skin. So I'm going to move this closer. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. In the oven. Here we go. Check this out. It's coming right off. All right, look at that. So easy to do, so flavorful, so good for you. Remember I was saying it's got that vitamin C in it that's so good for us, so good. It's a mood booster, keep us feeling positive and looking forward to the future, especially in these difficult times. Here we go. And what I want to do then is I'm going to take it now and I'm just going to take the top off. And what I will do is remove the seeds, just like that. And now you've got this wonderful roasted red pepper. What I will do is I will put this in a jar with a little bit of, well, I'll let it dry, or pat it off and dry it. I'll put it in a jar with a little bit of olive oil and maybe some basil. That sounds good. And let it set. And then I'll put it in the fridge, and whenever I want to add something, or maybe if I make another dip, it'll be ready for me. And that should keep for, you know, a couple of weeks in there, I would think. Because if you have it submerged in oil, it stays fresh. But chances are it's not going to last that long in your house. So I hope you enjoyed today's class. Mary Ellen agrees. She said freezer is a great tool for saving those seeds. Absolutely. I have a whole drawer that's kind of dedicated to my seeds and my nuts in my refrigerator. And she also uses those Mary's Gone crackers. I love them. So anyway, I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching today. Andy, so good to see you. Hope you guys are doing well. Please stay well. Please stay safe. And maybe we'll see you this evening for our Take 20, as I mentioned, at 7 p.m. Central. We'll be talking about hidden toxins in our environment. We'll also be talking a little bit about our metamorphosis, emotional support, and detox that's coming up June 8th, something that will also help support your mood. We are doing an emotional support side of it because we realize that there's a lot of difficulties that we're facing that are new to us. And reaching out and communicating is one way to help with the stress that you might be feeling. Not to mention eating healthy as well to help lighten up and support your immune system so that you stay healthy. All right, until next Tuesday, hope you're all well. Let me know if you make the recipe. And again, next week, I'll be making buckwheat crackers. Okay? Take care all. Stay well.